Welcome to episode 8 of Channel Moments. In this video, I wanted to share a bit more of my personal life and what I've done for training over my decade of climbing experience. For some context for this video, my weekly climbing schedule is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. I try to have more intense climbing sessions on Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday, with my Tuesday and Friday sessions focused more on technique, movement, and slab. For this episode, I filmed my sessions on Monday and Wednesday. Although these were decent sessions, I was feeling some built-up fatigue from the week before. My skin felt pretty thin, and I had trouble finding the motivation to try hard. Regardless, I still wanted to make a video of these days so you guys can see how progress in climbing is never linear. I climbed on the kilter board on both days. I climbed at 40 degrees on Monday and 50 degrees on Wednesday. On Monday, I warmed up, then did one-arm hangs, weighted chin-ups, and core. I did one-arm hangs on 22mm with a straight arm and on 20mm with a bent arm. The straight arm hangs feel a lot more difficult for me, so that's why I do them on a bigger edge. I didn't feel great on my weighted chin-ups, but I managed to get through the workout. For my core exercise this session, I did front lever raises, which I think effectively activate many of the core muscles used in climbing. There was a new set in the gym, but one of the teams was climbing on it, so I did a couple kilter board climbs to start the session. While my climbing videos are playing, I'll mostly just be yapping about my climbing career. I started climbing at a local YMCA by my house when I was almost 14 years old. My dad and I had started lifting earlier that year, but I decided to try out climbing. I was immediately hooked and continued to climb, working my way up the routes at the gym. I didn't do much climbing specific training, but my dad and I woke up early in the morning to do P90X3 ab workouts or lift at the gym before school. About 8 months later, I got a gym membership at Earth Treks and started bouldering. I was able to do a couple V4s within a few months, and I decided to try out for the climbing team. I somehow made it onto the highest level of the team, so I started shifting my focus entirely to training for climbing. I stopped lifting and just did climbing drills or ab exercises on the ground for my workouts. Apparently, I was pretty garbage at this sport and got last place in my first boulder and lead regional championships in youth. I'm pretty sure I cried a bunch at both events. The next season, I ended up doing my first V8 in the gym, but I was still only doing on-the-wall drills and ground core as my training. I performed a bit better in my competitions, placing in the middle of the field at regionals for both boulders and lead, but this was still not enough to move on to the next round of competition. Up to this point, I wasn't doing much serious training, but this changed in the summer of 2017. Finger strength was a serious weakness of mine, so I started doing max weight hangs. I think I may have also started doing some weights and harder core exercises. I did my first V9 and V10 in the gym. I also started climbing outside a bit more and did a couple V7s. In the 2017 to 2018 competitive season, I placed 4th at regionals for both boulders and lead. This meant I qualified for divisional championships, and I did pretty well there, but I placed 7th, which was 1 spot out of nationals for both disciplines. I think I mostly continued doing max weight hangs, hanging core exercises, and some very light running for my training. I purchased a finger strength plan that had some supplemental exercises, and I followed this plan for about 3 months in the fall of 2018. During this time, I also ended up sending my first outdoor V10, Moby Dick, at Rock State Park in October 2018. I had a great competitive season this year, qualifying for divisionals in both disciplines again. At divisionals, I placed 2nd in boulders and 3rd in lead, so I qualified for nationals in both disciplines. I had a lot of fun competing at nationals and was close to qualifying for the semifinal rounds, placing 23rd in boulders and 30th in lead. After my youth career, I shifted my focus to climbing outside more. I continued working on finger strength, but now did more weighted pull-ups, deadlifts, squats, harder core exercises, running, and some other supplemental lifts. Ever since then, I've generally followed 6-week training cycles with a week or 2 deload period. During the second semester of my undergraduate career, the COVID pandemic started. I was consistently training and running a lot more. Unfortunately, it was also during this time that I fell into some disordered eating habits. I was severely restricting my caloric intake for about 6 months while continuing to train. During this time, I sent my first V11 outside, so I thought that this was sustainable. Shortly after I sent the V11, both my physical performance and mental health took a turn for the worse. I really started to dislike climbing during this time and struggled to be happy with the progress I had made over the past couple years. I was comparing myself to my climbing friends and being overly hard on myself. I stopped restricting calories in fall of 2020, but I still had a tough relationship with climbing and food for the next couple years. I also started coaching at Movement Columbia in 2021. Working with youth athletes who are so passionate about the sport helped me find my own love of climbing again. In terms of training, I tried different finger strength interventions such as one-arm hangs and block pulls. I continued doing weighted pulling exercises, but switched between weighted pull-ups and weighted one-arm lock-offs. I also continued to deadlift about once a week, but didn't squat as much. Ever since then, I have focused on continuing to build strength and improving at climbing, but also while having more fun while climbing. I started competing again between 2022 and 2024. I decided to compete in a couple of the North American Cup Series competitions. I was 2 spots out of a semifinals in a NAX in 2022, and I managed to qualify for a semis in a NAX in 2023 in Montreal. I also competed at Open Nationals for bouldering in both 2022 and 2023, but I decided to stop competing in the open circuit since it's not really worth the time or financial investment for me. As you can probably tell from my social media, I mostly enjoy climbing outside, but I do love doing coordination moves in the gym. I'm excited to work on some harder local projects this coming season. For the second part of the climbing clips in this video, I filmed my kilterboard session on Wednesday. As I said earlier, I was struggling to try hard during this session. I tried my V12 project, Ozek Nose, for a bit, but then moved on. I put up some climbs that I had gotten close on before, but not sent yet. I also tried some easier climbs that I had on a to-do list, but hadn't gotten around to trying yet. This pretty much ended up being more of a volume session on climbs below my limit. Since I graduated from college in 2023, I've experimented with more finger strength exercises, including repeaters to build more forearm muscle, recruitment pulls for overcoming isometrics, and hanging finger curls. I've also been much more consistent with working on hip mobility for the past few months, and I'm trying to work on specific weaknesses on the wall. Since I've done so much off-the-wall training over the past 5 years, I try to do minimal off-the-wall training now. Instead, I'm intentionally trying to better apply my strengths on the wall and work on technique. Another major weakness of mine is hip mobility. Unfortunately, I suffer from hip impingements, which cause a physical limitation to my range of motion. It's honestly kind of a pet peeve of mine when people tell others to stretch more when they lack hip mobility, because it's not something that everyone can easily improve, which is something that a lot of people aren't aware of. I hope this gave you guys some background on my climbing career. Of course, there's a lot more about my climbing and me as a person than the general overview I shared in this video. To give you some background of who I am, I majored in biochemistry in undergrad and worked in a radiation oncology research lab for 2 years. I unsuccessfully applied to medical school in 2024, and I reapplied this year. I still love running, and I'm currently trying to run 800 miles this year. As of this video, I've run 620. Climbing is an extremely important part of my life, but it's not everything. My wife and I got married in 2023, and we love watching anime and eating food. She has been a really important part of my climbing career. She has supported me through rough patches and keeps me from being too hard on myself. There are also so many friends and family members who have been crucial parts of my climbing career. Many of my close friends helped me to learn to love climbing again, and my parents have always been supportive of my goals. Having other passions, hobbies, relationships, and endeavors is important for having a healthy relationship with climbing. My goal with this channel is to help you achieve your own climbing goals in a healthy way. I want to show you both my accomplishments and struggles and the journey behind them. If you have any questions about training or how I balance training for climbing with life, feel free to leave a comment below or shoot me a message on Instagram. I love that many of you have already reached out to ask questions or provide support for the channel, and you are the reason I continue to do this. Thank you for watching this episode, and sorry it was a bit different than normal. I had some rough sessions last week, but I still wanted to make a video so I could be honest with you guys. Thank you all again, and I'll talk to you in next week's episode.